Good morning and welcome to the service this morning. We especially welcome friends and family as we gather here today with sadness in our hearts to honour the life of SharonPorch. My name is Rosalind Pickford and I'm a chaplain at UPA and for the Royal Fire Service Runner team. But today I have been asked to lead this service as a friend of Sharon. And what an honour it is for me to be here today. We come together to support and extend our heartfelt sympathy to Sharon's family, her husband John, her children Gil and Steve, Adam and Bernadette, Stacey, Graham and Donna, grandchildren Tom and Jess, Grace and Sebastian, John and Ella and their daughter Goldie, Lily and Tom, Georgia, Jack, Max, Logan, Rowdy, forget that one wrong, and Chase. Today we have come to celebrate Sharon's life. And the reason we feel so sad is because we have loved. And if we did not love, then we would not grieve. And we can grieve in so many different ways. So now I would just like Logan to come up and open with her.
Please go stay away and memories were a lane. I'll walk right up to heaven and bring you back down. Our farewell words were spoken with time to say goodbye. You were gone way too soon, and only God knows why. My heart still aches in sadness, and secret tears still flow. What it means to lose you, no one will ever know.
Now we're going to come to a time where Gil and Stacey are going to share the story of Sharon's life with us.
We lost our beautiful mum a long time ago to illness, an illness that ravaged her body and mind, causing terrible suffering. When we sit here with you today and think about her, it's not as the woman in her final months or weeks, but rather as the strong, intelligent, bright, family-loving mum she was. We hope today you can all celebrate what an amazing person she was and how she impacted all of our lives. We thank you for coming along to remember mum and for supporting our family. And bear with me because I have quite a lot written down here. It seems that I could write quite easily about mum. A loving and devoted wife, mum, nan, great nan, sister and friend. Mum would say that Dad had 3 F's in his life: family, farming and footy. She often questioned what the priority of these were, but over time we always knew it was seasonal. Upon reflection, while thinking about mum, I believe that mum also had 3 F's in her life. These were her priorities: family, friends and also farming. These were the most important aspects of her life and she was dedicated to being the best she could. Mum's family life began in Eugowra, where she grew up as a much-loved daughter of Zell and Pike. She had a close and beautiful bond with both her parents, and it's through her that we have learned just how important family really is. That sense of loyalty, love and sticking together, no matter what. Something she carried with her throughout her life and has passed on to all of us. She enjoyed a loving relationship and shared a very special connection with her sister Jane and her brother Doug. When Jane married Trevor and moved just a couple of kilometres up the road, she became more than a sister. She became Mum's neighbour, go-to for a quick cuppa, a chat or a laugh and support. They continued to share their lives closely, supporting each other through everyday chaos of farm life, raising kids, and in later years supporting each other to navigate the caring of Nan and Pop. Mum also treasured her farming bond with Doug. They connected over paddock talk, buying and selling sheep, comparing rainfall and debating the finer points of merino wool versus sheep for meat, sometimes more passionately than ward leaders debate trade deals. These conversations were more than just business, they were a shared language, a link back to their childhood and a reflection of the deep respect they had for one another and the farming life that they both loved. Her farming life started with Nan and Pop living at Carmina in Eugowra. the Greenlodge family farm, and a property that remained one of her most treasured places. Dad recently reminded me of how the cousins who lived on the family farm or nearby used to love riding horses. Mum, however, had a fairly brief love affair with horses. It ended shortly after moving to Yeovil with a not-so-graceful sideways dismount of our horse, Billy Doo. That was it for her equestrian days. She quickly upgraded to a Yamaha 175 motorbike, and in true mum fashion took to it like a duck to water. She never looked back. Mum and Dad met when she was just 15 and he was 20. We know, these days that would set off alarm, police sirens and possibly a full segment on a current affair, but back then apparently it was just for romance. Somehow it worked because they were married by the time Mum was 18 and had finished having their family of 4 children by the time she was 28. I still have trouble wrapping my head around that. By the time most of us had figured out how to cook rice properly, Mum had 4 kids and a working farm. I have such great admiration for her to commit to this lifestyle at such a young age. Reflecting on her 3 F's in their life, led me to recall a story of their wedding planning with Nan and Pop, and the priorities that were set for these. Remember, I did say 3 F's were seasonal. When Mum and Dad were making wedding plans with Nan and Pop, they settled on the date, the 12th of August. Now you think that'd be pretty simple, but Pop, being the dedicated coach of the local footy team, had one condition. They could only get married on that Saturday if Dad promised to stay and play the big game the next day. And Dad, ever the team player and possibly slightly scared of Pop, agreed. He had his priorities straight after all, wedding and footy, all on the same weekend. So the next day, fresh and married with confetti still in his hair, Dad ran onto the field, scored a couple of tries, and then he and Mum headed off on their honeymoon. That's love and local sport, perfectly balanced. Mum and Dad had a shared dream to one day own a farm of their own, and like everything they did, they were determined to make it happen. In their early married life, they packed up and headed to the big smoke to save every penny they could. Dad drove cement trucks by day, and Mum, true to form, did it all, staying at home with the kids during the day and working at Woolies at night. It was a very full-on schedule, but typical of Mum, hard-working, no fuss, and utterly committed to the bigger picture. Their hard work paid off in 1973, we think, when the dream finally became a reality. Dad, along with Pop and Doug and Leonie, went off to look at a farm he'd spotted in the Land newspaper at a place called Yeovil. Pop was very impressed with this property and thought it was a good buy, quickly offering to Dad that if he didn't buy it, Doug should. In unison, Doug and Leonie were happy to decline. After all, they lived only 6 kilometres out of town, and this farm was 30 kilometres out of the small town of Yeovil, all dirt road. The property was Edendale, and from that moment on, it became the heart of our family life. It was more than just a block of land. It was the place where Mum's love for the land and the love of the lifestyle that a farm afforded her grew. The dream of raising their children and owning a farm had become a reality. However, with that came the need for money to improve pastures, buy stock and feed our family. While Dad worked off farm shearing sheep, Mum ran the farm, with us kids trailing along like a 4-piece marching band. I recall the time of us all jammed onto the tractor, Adam and I wedged between the wheel guard and the seat, Stace balanced on Mum's lap, and Graham in a makeshift bassinet between the seat and the wheel hub on the other side. No cabin, no seat belts, just vintage 1970-1980 style parenting at its finest. After Mum passed, I received a message from one of my friends from school that has really stuck with me. She wrote, "Your mum was always kind and smiling, and a worker. I was always amazed by her hands. You could tell she worked hard just by looking at them. That is my memory of her when we were kids. And that image is so true. Mum's hands were never manicured. They were strong, capable, and always busy. Dad always loves to tell people, often with a very proud grin, she worked hard, you know, mate, harder than a man, even harder than me. And if you know Dad, that's saying something." Mum absolutely owned this lifestyle. Gaiters over her boots, shorts, a shirt covered in dirt, and a fashion sense that can best be described as functional with flair. A true out-back fashionista, but something she was always comfortable with. Weekends were a special kind of chaos. While Dad was working off farm during the week, Mum would collect jobs for him to do on the weekend. Every weekend the list came with a very stern warning: do not go into the spring paddock, everything is all good up there. Of course, within an hour she'd be at the kitchen window, spying Dad walking across the damn paddock, muttering to herself, how many times do I have to tell him? And off we all go to pull Dad out of yet another bowl, 4 kids in tow. Thankfully, in what can only be described as divine intervention, the spring eventually dried up and Mum finally got some weekends off. Mum truly loved the lifestyle that farming gave her. It wasn't always easy, and in fact, it rarely was. But it gave her purpose, space and freedom to live the life that felt real and allowed her to be a very hands-on and involved mum. Where she went, we went too. And through it all, Dad was right there beside her. Her mate, her best mate, her soulmate. They were a true team, working side by side, raising kids, chasing sheep, fixing fences, sharing the kind of partnership that didn't need big declarations. Just a knowing look, a quiet joke, or Dad walking through the door at the end of the day, saying, what happened today, mate? It was their ritual, their way of checking in. Was it a perfect marriage? Of course not. No one ever has that. But it was real. It was built on hard work, shared goals, deep loyalty, and a fierce focus on family and getting the job done. They were a team, even when they didn't see eye to eye. Mum wasn't afraid to let Dad know, though, when he'd crossed the line, especially when working in the sheep yards. She'd pop a bit of swearing for a while, and then you'd hear it. Right, do it yourself then. And off she'd go, gate slammed, heading towards the house at a very good pace. There was also the time that Dad came home late from footy training, obviously later than he should have. As he came walking up the front path, Mum launched a few pots in his direction, and with surprising aim. Then she chased him right round the back of the house with other household items. I remember crawling into bed with Adam, crying, thinking, jeepers, this must be what divorce looks like. But of course, it wasn't. Because one morning they were back to being themselves, probably out in the paddock, arguing over who forgot to shut the gate, and laughing about it 5 minutes later. Their love wasn't picture perfect, but it was strong and enduring, built on history, humour, and a shared life full of grit, good times, and plenty of stories. In Mum's final years, as her illness took more from her than we ever thought it could, Dad's love never wavered. His love and dedication to her was something truly special. Gentle, patient, constant. He was there every step of the way. We watched him care for her with the same strength and loyalty that had defined their whole life together. Mum was our champion, always. She put us kids first in everything she did. She was the one doing all the running around, school, sports days, lunch boxes, sick days, you name it. She handled it. While Dad was flat out, catching up on farm work on the weekends, it was Mum who held it all together with a quiet strength and that deep, unwavering love only a mother can give. She was loving, caring, and gentle, or mostly. Except, of course, when Adam was swearing. Mum had no time for that kind of language, especially coming from her own child's mouth. So she took matters into her own hands, washing his mouth out with soap. So much soap, in fact, that when Adam was begging her to stop, promising to never swear again, only bubbles came out, actual bubbles. We now know it's a proven technique that, sadly, didn't work. Dad was definitely the disciplinarian in our house. Mum's go-to warning was always, just wait till my father gets home. Fortunately for us, by the time Dad did get home, we were usually in bed, and whatever we'd done had been quietly swept under the rug. Mum talked tough, but her heart was soft. She was the peacemaker and the one who smoothed the waters. I remember one morning vividly, I was driving us to the bus stop in the big old Valiant, which in true country fashion doubles a family car and a farm ute. I was about 12. We were rushing as usual, and in the chaos I forgot to shut the car door properly. As Mum called out, hurry up, and I accelerated quickly, forgetting about the door, and took it clean off. Just like that, I was bawling, terrified I was going to be in massive trouble with Dad. But Mum didn't miss a beat. She yelled from the kitchen window, do not miss that bus, I'll sort your father out before you get home. And true to her word, she did. By the time we walked back in the door that afternoon, the car door incident was already old news. Mum was a very light sleeper, so when a pesky peewee took to pecking at their bedroom at their bedroom window at sunrise, Mum was not at all impressed. Day after day went on, and finally she had enough, calling to Graham, "I need you to sort that peewee out." Graham, being the obedient son, spotted the bird perched on the power line. He lined it up, took aim, and of course missed the peewee entirely, and just like that, we had no power. No power. Graham was understandably panicked, convinced Dad was going to possibly lose it. But Mum smoothed the whole thing over, paid the $700 to fix the power line, and somehow managed to make sure that Dad didn't bat an eyelid over it. Mum also loved playing cards, and out of all of us it was Stace who really shared that passion. Dad, Stace, Corey and Mum would sit for hours playing a good game of euchre, always with a nip of port close by. It became their thing, cards, port and plenty of laughs. They especially loved team challenges. Of course, I'm sure you can imagine it never got very competitive. But like any true gambler, Mum knew when to hold them and when to fold them. She played for the joy, the connection and the tradition, not just the win. Those card games weren't just part-time pastimes, they were moments of bonding, comfort and family with Stace. Mum also loved being a nan. It wasn't just a title to her, it was a job she threw herself into wholeheartedly. She played with the kids, got down on the floor with them, joined in their games, and took a genuine interest in every single thing they did. Whether it was coming in, a new dance move, a backyard cricket score, or just a particular funny story from school, she was right there, listening, cheering them on, and always ready for a cuddle. And she was very proud of them, not just for what they did, but for who they were. As they've grown into young adults, nearly young adults, most of them, she never stopped championing for them. She talked about them to anyone who would listen, and her eyes would light up when she did. Her grandchildren brought her joy, laughter and purpose, and she gave them something just as lasting in return, the memory of a man who showed up, who played, who listened, and loved them completely. Mum had a way of forming deep, lasting connections with people. When she called someone a friend, she meant it for life. She was loyal, generous, and always there when her friends needed her, whether it was for a shoulder to cry on, someone to share a cuppa with, or to help in tough times. Mum showed up. Her friendships were filled with humour, honesty, and a deep sense of care. She also loved to travel with her friends, heading off on some great adventures that saw them travel to around Australia, Thailand and the UK. Those trips weren't about just the destination, it was about the people she was with. I'm pretty sure there are some well-kept secrets of wine, port drinking, skinny dipping and outdoor showering. Stories my child wants to hear about their mother. Mum didn't collect things, she collected people, and she cherished those people. The strength of these connections says everything about the kind of friend she was. Grief has a way of creeping up on us, like a blanket of sadness it sits there. While I think back on the void of not having Mum in our life anymore, I think we just miss her. We don't miss seeing her unwell. We miss the phone calls daily when she was well, even if it was just to say, "Hi, how was your day and how are the kids?" We miss her voice, the little chuckle and her hugs. We are missing her in our life. She was a strong woman who created a family, and we know that we were the most important people to her. We miss our mum, the power of a wonderful woman who we all love very much.
In the darkest of times, Mum was a constant light. She was the one who showed up, not just in the easy moments, but when life felt overwhelming or uncertain. Her support never wavered. She had this quiet strength that made you feel safe, heard, and deeply loved. As mothers now ourselves, we carry her lessons with us every day. She taught us by example that our children come first, that being present, loving, and consistent matters more than anything. Mum also taught us to value communication, togetherness, and the power of education. She was super smart with an incredible ability to remember names, dates, and numbers. In the early days when she worked at the Oval Telephone Exchange, it was the days before telephones had buttons with the numbers on them, we would ring her at work with 3 quick turns of the handle and she would promptly answer to help us with whatever question we had. For many years after, she was able to quote phone numbers for anyone in town. She believed that as women we could do anything, and she made sure we believed it too. However, she wasn't too sure about me joining the fire brigade. She was a little concerned about the shared sleeping arrangements at the station, but in no time she agreed that it was the best decision I had made. Her positivity wasn't just uplifting, it was infectious. She instilled in us the confidence to aim high and the belief that being kind, capable and curious would always be enough. Because of her, we understand the importance of family, connection and never giving up, and that will stay with us forever. I just want to finish up with a small poem that I've written as a dedication to Mum. Sharon, Shaz, Mum, Nan, the light of our lives, always holding our hands. Our greatest supporter, no matter the game, always cheering us on without fanfare or fame. For many a year, your strength shone through the heart of our family, the mortar, the glue. With the calmest of voices and the best listening ears, so reassuring and confident, always allaying our fears. In the past 5 years, you continue to teach. Don't take life for granted and keep family in reach. We will miss you, Mum, more than you can ever know. You will still be our light and we love you so.
Wasn't that a beautiful picture of Sharon? And so heartfelt. There are so many things in there in what the girls talked about that I'm sure each one of us can relate to. And the one that I think that spoke to me a lot was about Sharon's love for her children and doing whatever she can to help them out. I remember when Adam first started doing his pre-testing abuse, and my husband Mark asked him to come out to the farm to see if he could do the same on our sows. And I remember the first time they turned up and Sharon was in tow, and she was willing to get in and do whatever to help out Adam starting up his business in that area. And for me it was a great encouragement as a woman that wasn't brought up on a farm to see other women getting involved in the farm life. So she was a great example in doing that. Now we're going to have some tributes. First we're going to have Tom and then Grace. Or Grace.
Thank you all for being here today to honour and celebrate the life of a truly remarkable woman. To us, she was Nan. To others, Mum, beloved sister, daughter, loyal friend, and devoted wife to John. She wore many hats in this life, and she wore them all with quiet grace and fierce devotion. When I think of Nan, most of my memories are tied to the block, as I'm sure they are for the other grandchildren. The perfect place for us young kids to run amok, we were never short on things to do. Endless visits spent riding our bikes around the loop of the house, from the back shed, down past the dam and up the driveway, exploring the back paddocks, shooting milk bottles, which I'm pretty certain Nan frowned upon, or yarding or fishing down at the dam. As the first granddaughter, who also inherited some more delicate traits from her other grandmother, I imagine Nan was a bit disappointed with my aversion to anything dirty. Let's just say I was not made for the farm. Nan being Nan, this didn't bother her one bit. Not only were there always plenty of indoor activities to revert to, due to Mummy being a personal favourite, she always met each of us exactly where we were, with infinite patience and love. Nan never cared what we were doing, only that we were together. As Gil said, that was Nan's way. Always present, always supportive, always loving. And whilst Nan showed her love for her family in many ways, For us grandchildren, a common one was her commitment to traipsing around the state, perhaps the country, to cheer us on at sports, from soccer to rugby, touch football, netball, and I'm sure many others. You would think she served her time doing this with her own children, and even Pop in the early days, but she didn't bat an eyelid at doing it all over again for her grandchildren. I recall one of my very first representative netball carnivals when I was just 12 years old. It was in Orange, so naturally it was about 6 degrees and pouring rain, completely miserable. But this did not deter Nan. Of course, she was there on the sidelines, all rugged up with about 3 coats on under a flimsy umbrella that did little to block the sideways rain. And yes, she could have easily driven the hour home to the comfort of her trackies, a warm cuppa, and a knitted blanket, but no, classic Nan. Nothing could stop her from showing up for her grandchildren. No matter the sport or the weather, Nan was always there telling us all to play with a bit of mongrel. Yes, mongrel, a word I never thought would be a part of my vocabulary, but a word which speaks true to Nan's spirit. Nan had a gentle, loving heart, but she was an extremely tough woman. She spent years working tirelessly in Sydney and on the farm to provide for her family. Her persistence and dedication to her work and family to create the life she had always dreamed of was beyond admirable. Also, she had a very strong will and wasn't afraid to stand her ground, especially with Pop. Without fail, every visit to the flock, we would always witness Pop being put in his place. This tended to start with, "Oh, for goodness sake, John," and I'm sure we can all imagine where that often led to. Around the house, Nan was a comforting presence. You could usually find her at the computer playing solitaire or Minesweeper, watching an old western on the telly, tinkering away in the kitchen, or tendering to her veggie patch. But no matter where she was, there were 3 surefire ways to find her: the soft shuffling of her slippers, the trail of empty tea mugs, and the unmistakable sound of a long, loud sigh which echoed through the house. And if she wasn't home, she was likely just down the road having a cuppa with her dear friend Robin. A friendship I often looked at and thought, how special, can't wait to have something like that one day. Nan's devotion to her friends mirrored her devotion to her family. Loyal, unwavering, everlasting, and wholehearted. Christmas was always one of Nan's favourite times of year. What could beat having the whole family together? Just priceless. While the rest of us settled into catching up, snacking, drinking, a game of backyard cricket, or even just putting our feet up, Nan was always slaving away in the kitchen. This may sound as though she drew the short straw, but she was exactly where she wanted to be, and we were all exactly where we were told to be, far from the kitchen. "Stay out of my way and stop fussing," she'd say, and by fussing, she meant offering help. For a long time, this was mostly directed at her own mother, Zell. Once we had all obeyed the repeated order to steer clear of the kitchen and dinner was finally served, we would then listen to Nan tirelessly state how she was never going to be like Zell at that age. "I won't fuss, I'll stay out of the way and do as I'm told." Unfortunately, Nan's time was cut short, but I think we can all agree she was on her way to becoming exactly like Zell, and we say that with only affection. Nan may have been fearful of this, but I have no doubt all of her best qualities came from Zell, for which we are so fortunate. Life changed drastically when Nan got sick. Our family's backbone, our constant, the one always showing up for her family, now the one with good support. I know you all understand how hard it was to see her suffer all those years, but as illness took its toll, she continued to show us what true resilience looked like. Her strength never faded, and neither did her love. Whilst I reflect on all the wonderful memories and feel extremely grateful for the time we had with Nan, I can't help but feel an incredible sadness about all the milestones she will miss. She was an integral part of our childhood. How lucky we were. It's the special moments that are yet to come that will be tainted by her absence. I know how much it pained her to sense what was ahead, to see the beginnings of the lives we're building now as adults, and to not be a part of it in the way she would have hoped. I take comfort in knowing how proud she will be, and that she will continue to watch over me, even if it is from above. We know that you are always with us, Nan, in every quiet moment, in every soft sigh, in every cup of tea. Your love will continue to guide us. We love you, Nan, and we always will.
I'll just start with apologies. There'll be a little bit of overlap. That's just same memories. So, there's no perfect way to say goodbye to a loved one, especially when that loved one, just like me, just might be the greatest Nan that there ever could be. I stand up here not only to reflect on my own personal experiences, but to give an insight into the kind of grandmother she was for all, I hope I counted correctly, 8 of us Porch grandchildren. My earliest memories of both Nan and Pop together were when they bought the block of land that would eventually become The Block, very original name. They had finally, after all the hard years grinding away on the farm, were building their own dream home to spend the rest of their time together and enjoy all the fruits of so many hard years slogging it out. The block, once built, soon turned into one of the hottest school holiday destinations one could hope for. Well, for me anyway. It had everything a kid could ask for. A long gravel driveway, perfect for bike races and huge skids. 2 dams, of which one was said to be filled with fish. I'll never forgive you, Nan. You kept making me go fishing, never caught a goddamn fish. A P80, which was bought for all the grandkids when I was like 12, so it was more like a little P50. And a few old guns that didn't quite shoot straight, but most of all, it was where Nan and Pop were. Every day would start the same. A steaming hot kettle of tea, a bowl of muesli, another kettle of tea, and maybe even one more, just for good measure. Pop would be off to work, out in the scrub, and Nan would be left behind to fend for herself with Grace and me. It was during these days, on hot summer holidays, where we spent endless hours learning to play gin rummy and dominoes, power through as many crosswords as possible, cook scones, and of course, knock over a few more kettles of tea. Nan must have had the patience of the saint, especially when we were younger. Grace was an avid card shark, to put it nicely, and I was a pretty sore loser. So many a card game was often ended early to avoid any escalations. Not only was this a way to keep us busy, I'm sure, but it was time where we could just sit and talk, ask endless questions, and always be responded to with that classic Nan smile and warm affection. At the time, I was probably solely focused on winning, but looking back at it now, it was some of the best times we ever spent with Nan. I think this memory highlights what I think was Nan's greatest quality, her support for her family. She was not a woman of grand gestures or of anything fancy, but she always was there for us. This support was never more evident than the million sporting carnivals and school assemblies she just attended, just because. There was never a big event Nan would miss. I think it was her greatest pride to see us doing what we loved. I'll never forget the week she spent with Mum and I in Salamander Bay when I made the regional softball team, somehow. And was never more than excited to pack up and come sit out in the sun for a week and just cheer me on. I'm certain she enjoyed watching the carnival, but the memory of that week that is seated in my brain is Nan tucked up in a camping chair knitting little red squares. Although she was known to knit, this lot wasn't for her. It was a school project that I was supposed to be doing to help the homeless families in town. However, I couldn't knit, and how playing sport was way more fun, so Nan stepped up and knitted a whole damn blanket. This is a kind of a small gesture that made Nan's greatest. Nan was also amazingly supportive of all my academic ventures and was a sounding ear as school became more serious and I began to think about what I would do as I headed off to university. Always a rock, Nan encouraged me to do what I thought was best and what interested me the most. These conversations have led me where I am today, and I'm so grateful that you pushed me to just chase whatever I wanted and do what I want. My biggest sadness is that you were never fully able to see us all grow and see what all those years spent with us amounted to. Sadly, these final years were robbed from you, but I hope we all did enough to make them as comfortable and rewarding as we all could have. I know that I am so glad that you're able to meet Jess, watch us grow, and hear about us establishing our own life together. Even though you really ate our dog and the way she runs the house. Sorry. But finally, over these last few years, I really came to realize and to admire just how much of a force Nan really was. She worked so hard on the farm, raised 4 kids whilst doing so, and as I came to learn, also ran the farm behind the scenes. She was the financier, the investor, the money manager. She played the long game, she was patient, and she was thoughtful, and she did it all for the ones that she loved. Nan, you leave behind an amazing legacy, a family, and countless friends who were all better for having known you and been a part of your life. I'll be forever grateful I was able to say goodbye and tell you one last time how much I loved Nan. I hope I and all us grandchildren have made you proud. Rest easy, Shaz.
Now we're going to hear from Jane Cody, and she's going to give a tribute to her sister.
Okay, yes, I'm Sharon's sister, Jane. Okay, this is a big team effort today, which is a lot of what's going on in what I'm going to say. Sharon was not just a wonderful sister, but also a loyal friend. I don't remember much about her when we were young, mostly because she was 9 years older and away at school in Forbes, living at the hospital until she completed her leaving certificate. So while she was out being a not-so-serious student, having fun and playing hockey, I was still learning my ABCs. My first clear memories of Sharon began when I was around 7 or 8. That was when she started dating this older boy called John. I say older because I actually thought he might have been a full-grown man. Sharon was still just a teenager. Sharon would take me to the picture theatre in the garage of the Elvis movies, which made me feel very important. Now that may have been sisterly love, but more likely I was meant to serve as an undercover chaperone, a role I took very seriously. I did tell-tat on them for kissing at the side gate. You're welcome, Mum. After Sharon and John married and moved to Sydney, my cousin Alison and I would visit during the school holidays. They lived in DY and later Collaroy, basically paradise for two country girls on summer holidays. They also took me on their holidays. I remember once going that trip to a caravan park, maybe Foster, where we went prawning with a torch. Looking back, it felt like a grand adventure, and I was grateful that my sister took me under her wing and created memorable moments.
When they moved to Gable, Sharon continued to include me in her life, and that's how I met Trevor. Sharon and I always helped each other with our kids through teamwork. During the 82-83 drought, we had what I call our droving days. 3 months on the road with Sharon, John, Robin and Trevor Tremaine, droving sheep in the logging paddock from Galagenberg to Littledale. We shared one caravan between families, just one, for 3 months. Sharon and Robin worked alongside the men like seasoned stockwomen. Jocelyn was 18 months old then, so I helped the board at home with the kids. When Jocelyn was in year 7 and had to be hospitalised in Sydney for 3 weeks, Sharon stepped in without hesitation to help with the boys while I stayed with Jocelyn. She never needed asking, just showed up. No fanfare required. Alright. I was always amazed by her strength and how hard she worked on the farm. She absolutely loved life on the land. She could be found mustering sheep or cattle on the Yamaha 175, often with a child wedged in front, or in the ute with baby asleep in the bassinet on the seat while pulling a vehicle out of a bog. And I believe that happened quite a lot in those early days of being involved. She was just as comfortable in the shearing shed as in the paddock. And let's be honest, she earned a Lifetime Achievement Award for her patience in the sheep yards working with John. No offence, John. We all know sheep are pretty stubborn. Sharon loved sport, especially rugby, as much as she loved a good cup of tea, maybe more. And that is saying something, as she loved her cuppa. She shared this interest with John and Mum and Dad. She made sure Mum and Dad were always included, whether it was local matches, Sydney games, or even trips to New Zealand. They travelled together and loved each other's company. They were a tight team. In later years, Sharon and I spoke nearly every day. There was never a shortage of things to chat about: kids, family, livestock, crops, and town gossip. She was a devoted daughter, always checking in, sorting things out, and letting people know in no uncertain terms if things weren't up to scratch. She and Dad shared a tipple of port most afternoons, a little ritual that brought them both joy, and I suspect left them both a bit tipsy at times. Steph remembers Sharon as being gentle, like having another mum when Mum was away.
Christy says she was welcoming, always ready for a chat at the kitchen table, and quick to embrace every new addition to the family. Brett recalls her as caring and comforting, especially during those lively moments when John's voice was bellowing and the odd shoe took flight. Simon remembers her as always cheerful, her big smiles, laughter and welcoming hugs a hallmark of every visit, especially at Christmas. Jocelyn remembers her deep empathy, the quiet, comforting kind that always knew when something was wrong and how to help without making a fuss. And Trevor recalls many evenings when he and Dick Kieran would land at Sharon's for a meal when they were both young bachelors. I honestly don't know how she managed to stay sane with her smile on her face. For me, Sharon was my rock, loving, dependable, solid. She was always there when I needed her. Sharon valued family and friends above all else. She was the heart of so many moments and memories. We will miss her deeply.
Thank you, Jane. Now, your good friend and co are going to come up and give a tribute also. Trevor and I have shared a wonderful 50 years. 50-year friendship with Sharon and John. It all began when they bought their farm at Edinburgh.
It all began when they bought their farm at Edinburgh in Baldry, not far from where we were living in Eunora. Back then, Trevor was working off the farm spreading super, which meant I was often left without a car. In 1975, with Gilly and Nikki just starting school and Nick's first sporty carnival coming up, I had no way to get there. So I phoned Sharon to introduce myself and asked if she might be able to give me and my younger two children, Brett and Michelle, a lift to the carnival. She kindly said yes and continued to do so for many years after that. That was the beginning of a lifelong bond. Thankfully, Trevor and John got along well too. Soon we were enjoying meals at each other's homes, barbecues and fishing on the Little River. Every Australia Day it was a tradition, the Tremaines, Porches, Stanbrooks and Walkers, spending the day fishing and crayfishing, then cooking up our catch for dinner, starting early and finishing late. During the drought of the early 1980s, times were tough. Trevor, together with John and Sharon, Trevor and Jane, who became drovers, taking our sheep to northern New South Wales where there was no feed on the roadsides. We started at Glardenbone and 3 months later left at Engledool as the drought finally broke with flooding rains. In the good times, we made unforgettable memories. In the 1990s, we shared our first overseas trip together to Thailand. Then we had our first outback adventure to Uluru, where we camped in tents alongside Doug and Leonie. The trip was very different for me, as I unknowingly had a cyst on my brain. I struggled with basic things like setting up a tent and cooking. Sharon quietly stepped into help. She told me what needed doing, from peeling potatoes to getting meals ready, always with patience. I'll never forget her love and support during those 3 weeks. 2 months later, I was in the RPA hospital in Sydney having brain surgery. Trevor never left my side, and neither did Sharon and June. In 2004, Sharon, John, Trevor and I spent 3 weeks touring Tasmania with more friends, Kel, Helen, Doug and Leonie. By 2006, we'd upgraded to camper vans and set off on a big trip to Darwin and down the west coast of Australia with Doug, Leonie, Ted and Pam. After 3 months on the road, we were all still friends. In 2012, Sharon and John, Trevor and I went on another big trip, a 3-month holiday through Europe. And in the years that followed, we went to the Birdsville races, the golf, and many other amazing places with family and friends. Our final trip with Sharon and John was in 2018 when we travelled to Cape York, this time in the comfort of caravans. Doug and Leonie joined us, and it was yet another unforgettable adventure together. Our friendship with Sharon and John has weathered thousands of kilometres and air miles, droughts, heartbreaks and challenges, but there have also been countless happy hours, shared beside rivers, gravel pits, truck stops and caravan parks. With 3 children the same age, Sharon and I would often chat on the phone, sometimes for just 5 minutes, sometimes longer, solving problems. Graham, being much younger, was often a topic of conversation. Just kidding, Graham. During those phone calls, we shared many laughs just being there for each other. I really miss those calls in recent years. In 2016, when John and Sharon moved to Mudgee, we left a big hole in our lives, but never in our hearts. These past 6 years have been especially hard on everyone, as Sharon's health was declining. Yet through it all, she remained positive, supported by John and her family, who took turns visiting and caring for her until she passed on the 12th of May. To Gil, Stephen, Adam, Stacey and Graham, thank you for the love and strength you gave your mum. She was so proud of you, and so was Trevor and I. R.I.P. dear friend, you will always be loved and remembered.
John, we just have to have a few words.
SharonPorch here. I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today, and thank you very much. I appreciate everything you've done.
Adam.
I wrote a little poem also. I'm no Banjo person, so just bear with me. The time has come to say goodbye to this legend of a woman, which here she lies. Oh yeah? The time has come to say goodbye to this legend of a woman, which here she lies. Working the farm from daylight to dark, and raising 4 kids was a walk in the park. Travelling the countryside, scanning sheep, on the way home, always asleep. I've never known a woman so strong, wife, mother, grandmother. She could do no wrong. So rest in peace, Mum, and let it be. Gone is the pain, and now you're free. This legendary woman will be sadly missed. I wish I could give you one last kiss. Love you, Mum.
I'd just like to acknowledge one of the notable absents here today and someone that we're all really missing, and that is Adam's eldest son, John, Mum's eldest grandchild, who couldn't be with us here today as he's in France.
The family have put together some photos for us all to watch.
I can't remember when you weren't there, when I didn't care for anyone but you. I swear we've been through everything there is. Can't imagine anything we've missed. Can't imagine anything the two of us can't do. Through the years, you've never let me down. You've turned my life around. The sweetest days I've found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years. I can't remember what I used to do, who I trusted, who I listened to before. I swear you've taught me everything I know. Can't imagine needing someone so. But through the years it seems to me I need you more and more. Through the years, through all the good and bad, I know how much we had. I've always been so glad to be with you. Through the years, it's better every day. You've kissed my tears away. As long as it's okay, I'll stay with you through the years.
Early morning, there's a message on my phone. It's my mother saying, darling, please come home. I fear the worst, but how could you leave us all behind? There's so much to say, but there's so little time. So how do I say goodbye? Someone who's been with me for my whole damn life. You gave me my name and the color of your eyes. See your face when I look at mine. So how do I say goodbye? When I couldn't, you always saw the best in me. Right or wrong, you were always on my side. But I'm scared of what life without you's like. And I saw the way she looked into your eyes. And I promise if you go, I will make sure she's alright. So how do I say goodbye? Someone who's been with me for my whole damn life. You gave me my name and the color of your eyes. See your face when I look at mine. So how do I say goodbye? And there's no way you could ever let me down. Gonna steal some time and start again. You'll always be my closest friend. And someday we're gonna make it out. Just hold the light. Just hold the light high, high. So how do I say goodbye to someone who's been with me for my whole damn life? You gave me my name and the color of your eyes. I see your face when I look at mine. So how do I say goodbye? So how do I say goodbye?
Weren't they absolutely beautiful photos? And if you go down to the Bowling Club later on, I'm sure the picture slide will be on again as well. So, Will, would you like to come up and give the last blessing, and then after that, if everyone would like to go outside to form the guard of honour, that'd be great.
May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your eyes, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Amen to that.
Pallbearers, please.
You raised me